Hi, I'm Pamela at Greenstick Cottage, and that is Misty. Misty! She's joining me today for a little while, probably not for long. And I am going to do this Spring Fling 2023 tag. I got tagged by the beautiful Christine at Christine is Crocheting. And so I'm going to go dive right in. And I wrote them all down so I wouldn't forget them. What do you like to do in spring that you can't do any other time? Well, that's an easy answer for me because my birthday is in the spring, so I have to do that on my birthday, which is always in the spring, so I don't do it at any other time. And so I get to celebrate yet another one this spring, and I'm always happy when that happens because I'm very happy I made it this far. So while some people want to stop the birthdays at 29, I'm happy to keep going as long as I possibly can. So that's the way I look at that. 2, what is your favorite springtime flower? My favorite springtime flower is the daffodil, which is my birth flower. So I love it. I think it's bright and cheery, and I love the colors of yellow and green together. The blanket she's resting on there is yellow and green, and so I love all colors really, but daffodils always remind me of springtime and my birthday, so they're my favorite flower. 3, what is your favorite thing about spring? My favorite thing about spring is the birds and hearing the bird song in the morning and throughout the day. And I just I love it when they're a lot more vocal, which seems to be in the spring. And I love to go outside and watch them. I love watching the cats running to the windows, when they hear the birds, and they run to the windows and they watch them. And as long as they don't try to break the windows to get out to get the birds, I like to keep the birds safe from the cats. My cats are all indoor cats, so and that's mainly for their safety because we live in the desert with a lot of predators. So they stay indoors with me and safe. All right, number 4. What is the weather like in your area in spring? That is kind of a toss-up. You never know. We have had snow. I live in northwestern Arizona in the high desert, and we have had snow as late as May before. We had snow, a big snowstorm last week, and the snow stayed for a couple, 2, 3, 4 days. So that was pretty heavy for us. But it can also be this early in March. It can be like summer sometimes. You just never know what you're going to get. And one year, the year I made my first temperature project, which was a temperature scarf in 2013, the temperature range that year was from a low of 10 degrees Fahrenheit in winter to a high of 114 Fahrenheit in the summer. So we have a broad range. And so here is my temperature blanket from 2013. And I knitted this in the round, or this is not blanket, this is a scarf. It could be a blanket for a super, super skinny person. But anyway, it is. I knitted in the round, and I did one side with the low temperature of the day, and the other side with the high temperature of the day. So I did a full round, but half and half. So since it's in the round, all the knots are on the inside. I used all variegateds for this scarf because I wanted it as colorful as possible. Now, the redder these get, and orange and yellow, these are the really high. I think those are the high temp. No, these are the low temps. I'm sorry. So these are, am I looking at this correctly? Yeah, I think so. I don't know how I did it, but you can tell where the concentration is here. But yeah, I'm showing you the low temperature side. So here we keep going, and keep going. I'm not sure which one is the 10 degrees, but we are under freezing a lot in the winter at night. So, and then we have the high temperature side here. So let's see. And I covered that whole range. I had enough variegateds to cover that whole range from 10 degrees until, so these really kind of lighter ones are the really hot ones of summer. And so, yeah, so in the springtime, we can get the cold weather or the hot weather. And there isn't a whole lot in between, actually. It kind of goes from cold to hot, and then we're in the heat of summer. Okay, so let's see. Number 5. When do you start your garden? I don't garden. So, but I do love looking at all the blooming that goes on in the desert during the spring. And we have beautiful, the cacti bloom, the Palo Verde trees bloom, and they have, so it becomes very colorful at that time, and I love that. And the Palo Verde trees are all over the property here, and that's where green stick cottage comes from, because Palo Verde means green stick in Spanish. And they are green bark. The trees have green bark, and they have beautiful yellow blossoms in the spring. And those yellow blossoms are what are on my banner photo on my channel. So those are Palo Verde trees in blossom. They're pretty to look at, but they, like all the cacti around here, they are not for touching. They can be very pokey and prickly, and so all of them are beautiful to look at, but don't touch. I knew someone once who thought a teddy bear cactus looked so soft and wanted to pet it and ended up with horrible problems with the hand there. Don't touch. Okay. Number 6, do you celebrate Easter? No, I don't celebrate Easter. I celebrate Pesach, which is also known as Passover, and Yom HaBikurim, which is the day of first fruits, and Chag HaMatzot, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a 7-day feast. And also during that time period, we start counting the Omer, which is counting the 7 weeks, 7 days each week, and so the 7 times 7 to get to Shavuot, also known as Pentecost. So it's a very intense, I guess you could say, season of celebration that goes on for 50 days at least. So we enjoy that a lot and look forward to it. And we have lamb on Passover evening, in between the evenings, actually it's called. So we follow the instructions for that in both the Old and New Testament. And so we do what Messiah did on that day. 7, do you crochet or knit anything special for spring? not I don't generally pick things specifically that way, but I consider this sweater a springtime sweater because of, the colors. And I did a couple years ago make a shawl, or started making a shawl. This is one of my many things that sit in hibernation for a while. And I love this shawl. I chose yellow because of spring. I felt like I felt like having a nice spring shawl. And so let me make sure I've got the correct side here. So this is called the Hissin' Kissin' shawl. And Hissin' Kissin' is a Finnish, in the Savo dialect, in the Finnish language, it means little by little, because this was a crochet or a knit along that went week by week, or I don't remember the time frames because it's been a couple of years, but so each section is different, and I love that. So this first section here, hopefully you can tell those are tulips, and then the next section spells out the word joy. Let me pull up a little bit more, that might help. Of course, when it gets blocked, it'll show a lot better. And then we have some more flowers, and I'm not sure what those were called. I'll have to get out my pattern and try to remember. And this section is hearts. Isn't that pretty? I love these things. And this final section that I worked on, even though there's a lot more to go, I think this is either I think this is just the section before the halfway point. But look at these flowers with all the baubles. I love those. I love the texture. This one's kind of caved in there. Let's poke that one out. But anyway, I love those. So maybe this spring I will pull this out and do something on it, even though I don't even know. I can't even remember how many whips I'm working on right now. So we'll find out. I should add that up just so I know. What is your favorite spring color? Well, I kind of already talked about that with my sweater. I love the pastels of spring. So I made this, even though I made this during the fall, I think, mainly last year. I used Lion Brand Mandala Baby in Diagon Alley, which I think is just a funny way of saying diagonally. But it's got all the springy looking pastels, and I love those colors together. And this sweater, by the way, is the Retro Granny Square sweater. Ursula at OM Granny Square has this tutorial, and that's what I use to make this sweater. I will try to remember to link that below, that tutorial, because it was a fun sweater to do. Number 9, do you spring clean? Well, spring cleaning is the main goal of spring cleaning is to get the leaven out of the house before Passover. So that has a lot of symbolic meaning, and it's even talked about how the leaven is even talked about in the New Testament, and getting the leaven out of our lives. And so by practicing that every year, it's a reminder. So that's what I do to make sure that's all out of the house. And let's see what's next. Number 10, we're on the last one. Do you go anywhere for spring break? I guess spring break is coming up this coming week, at least for my grandchildren who live locally. No, I generally don't go anywhere specifically for that. But last year I did go on a trip in April with my sister, and we went back to the California coast where we grew up. And sadly, the purpose for the visit was a family funeral. But so it was kind of a double-edged trip and time together. We had the sorrow of losing our family member, but we also got to see family that we don't usually get to see very often. So we got to see our other siblings and their families, and other extended family members and relatives, and that part was wonderful. Plus, seeing the ocean again. I miss the ocean a lot growing up. I was on the beach all the time, every chance I could get, and I miss it an awful lot. So for any of you who live on the California coast, stay there if you can, because I really wish I had stayed instead of moving away. But I do like it here. It's a whole different thing in the desert, but I just feel like my soul is always back at the Pacific Ocean. So I love making that trip. And hopefully we can do it another time under more joyous circumstances. And but we did enjoy what we got to see and do, and being with our family, and so that was very nice. So that's my spring fling. I am going to tag Angela at Mima's Crochet and Other Arts, and Jeannie T, All About Yarn and Crochet. I knew I would get this messed up, even with it right in front of me. Jeannie T, All About Yarn, Knit, and Crochet. And Cheryl at Curly Moose Crochets. So I'm tagging them. And anyone else who hasn't done this tag, if you consider yourself tagged and do it, because I love hearing about all of these questions and different parts of the country and the world. I love hearing about different locations and the things that you all do. I always enjoy hearing about that. So I hope you do the tag, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.